I like to tell, I think this is the time of year to tell it. This is a story like this many years ago. When I was a little bit older than you guys, I was sitting in Yeshiva, I was in Shalvim. And one day the Rosh Yeshiva says, listen, there's an officer coming, and he's going to speak to some of you, whoever's in these parameters. If you're this old, if you finished your army service already, you have to come to this room, officer's going to talk to you. Okay. So we went to the room, which was like let's call it room 301. The room is filled with a bunch of guys. The officer says, listen, we have a special mission coming up. We need people. Who's in? So the kid says, what's the mission? He says, I can't tell you, it's secret. He says, we need people to do it. There's a bus outside. Meet me at the bus in 15 minutes. Okay. So we all get our stuff. So we get on this bus, and they bring us to Tel Aviv. Bring us to Tel Aviv. The officer says, listen, this is what's going on. He says, there's going to be a war coming up here, the Gulf War coming up, and Saddam Hussein in Iraq, he says that he's going to shoot missiles into Israel. He's going to shoot chemical missiles into Israel. And we know now from the news in Syria, yeah, these Arabs, they shoot missiles with chemicals at each other. He says they're going to shoot chemical warhead missiles into Israel. And he says they're going to aim for Tel Aviv. And he says what's going to happen is, our intelligence says there are going to be thousands of civilian casualties. There are going to be people left and right killed by chemical weapons from Iraq. That's what's going to happen. He says, what is your job? We have to make an all-new Chevra Kadisha unit to handle people killed from these chemical weapons that are coming. And you guys are going to be in Tel Aviv. And what you're going to do is, you are going to, every time there's a missile, you'll collect the bodies. That's what your job is. Now they say, these missiles are going to come fast and furious. So we're not going to have time to bury the people. So the next morning, they took us to the beach at Tel Aviv, and they showed us this big part of the beach. They said, this part of the beach, and they showed us from here to here, this is going to be a mass grave. When people die, we're not going to have time to bury them one by one. We're going to dig up this beach. We're going to put all the people in here. And then they taught us how to mark a dead body. So that later on, and they said, we're going to win this war. We win every war, we're going to win this war too. But there's going to be thousands of people killed. So you have to mark the bodies, and then afterwards we'll bury them one by one. And they taught us how to mark the bodies. And then they said, now we have to teach you how to do Chevra Kadisha stuff. And they brought us to this morgue in Tel Aviv. And this is a morgue where they would bring the people who were homeless and living in the street who died. Or he'd give you these horrible stories, oh, there was a guy and he lived all alone and no one found that he was dead until like 2 months later, someone entered his apartment and all. This is the morgue where they kept those guys. They say, you have to learn on these kind of guys. Because when people get killed by chemical weapons, then their bodies become destroyed. It's horrible. It's not just like a regular old person, So you have to learn on this. And that was our training, and we did Chevra Kadisha on these homeless type people. And I will tell you that everybody did tshuva after that. Everyone's like, oh my goodness. You know, like they say, you have to think, yourself, your end is like a rimah v'tole'ah. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, I got to do tshuva, gashmis is nothing. Okay. Then they bring us to this place in Tel Aviv. They say, this is your place. And they say, you can't tell anybody. We don't want to freak out the country. If people knew this, they would be mass panic. We cannot tell anybody. Okay. So we go to this place. And we were like all in bunk beds. I don't know what this building even was. In my mind, it was like almost like a fire station. Anyway, on the wall, there were like these lights. They say when these lights go off, there's a siren. That means a missile fell somewhere in Tel Aviv. When that happens, you got to run downstairs. There's going to be a bus waiting for you. It'll take you to where the casualties were. You pick up the bodies, load them on the truck, bring them to the beach, bury them there. Okay. So the light goes off, and everyone's like, okay, this is it. We run down at the truck. About a minute later, the officer says, yeah. This missile fell. It fell in the middle of nowhere. Nothing happened. There's no damage. Back to normal. Okay. So go back to normal. And we're like, Yeshiva guys were learning. Some guys are, I don't know what they were doing, playing backgammon or whatnot, just waiting around. Then the thing goes off again. Boom, we run down again. And the officer's like, yeah, this missile fell, in a field somewhere, nothing happened. All right, go back up. After 2 or 3 days of this, the officer says, yeah, I guess it's not the end of the world after all. You can all go home now. We're like, okay, that's just what happened? And we're looking at each other and we're thinking, we know all the time people say, the wars in Eretz Yisrael, it's a modern day miracle, and it is. And we hear of all these battles. And I'm thinking to myself, we don't even know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is helping us. This is not even something that anybody knows. Nobody knows. They were planning for the apocalypse. It was going to be the end of the world. They were talking about mass grave. This is not a normal thing. And then he's like, it turns out that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us, and no one will ever know about this. Just go back to learning. So this is a big deal. And it always makes me happy to think about this and how HaKadosh Baruch Hu was watching all this. For Rav Yosef Karo, he has a Kabbalistic book called Magid Mesharim, and in this book, Rav Yosef Karo says that the way Jewish holidays work is, you can't just go into Simcha. It says, before Purim, you have Ta'anit Esther. The same way before Sukkot, Zman Simchatenu, we have Yom Kippur. There always has to be an intense time, a din time, before you can get into the happy time. And now with Yom HaAtzmaut being very, very festive, happy time, there has to be Yom HaZikaron before. And I will tell you that for Israelis, for anyone who's been to the army, anyone who had a kid who's been to the army, the feeling of Yom HaZikaron is self-evident. It's so self-evident. I remember one of my daughters, when she was real little, she asked me one time, she says, Abba, is it mutter to do laundry on Yom HaZikaron? Because it's so obvious that it's a time of heavy feelings and like avelut. It's like a Tisha B'Av kind of time of year. That's what she asked. But here, you guys, in a sense, are disconnected from that. I don't know how many of you have family members who have ever been in the army. It's different. It's very different. In my Yeshiva, Neve Daniel, we had a tekes last night. The first one and I were there. And there's people saying, Kel Malay, someone whose brother died. People reading letters that they wrote to their own family members. These are people you know, people you daven with. But here for you, it's a little bit further. So I want to talk to you about what is Yom HaZikaron for you guys. Now I'll tell you. The Ramchal writes in Derech Hashem that every Jewish holiday has a special ha'ara, a special kind of light that is the spiritual message of that holiday. Pesach, for example, is Geula, and every year it's Geula time. And we open the door, Eliyahu Hanavi, come, tell us the Geula, tell us the Mashiach is coming. Every holiday has its own special aspect. Even the holidays that are not Midoraita, even the Midorabbanan holidays have their special. Hanukkah, Purim, they all have. So the question now is, what is the special ha'ara, what is the special spiritual message of this day? So I will tell you, my understanding is that Yom HaZikaron has two messages, soldiers and sacrifice. Now I'll tell you something about being a soldier. You know, who was the first Jewish soldier? In our history, who was the first Jewish person who went out into combat to protect, to save somebody? Who was that person? Avraham Avinu. And it's very interesting that the Torah doesn't say so many details about the lives of the Avot. With Avraham Avinu, the Torah tells us about Lech Lecha, the Torah tells us about the Akedah, the Torah tells us about Ba'im Ma'arat HaMachpelah. Very, very significant things. The Torah says Avraham Avinu was a warrior. The first soldier of the Jewish people was the first Jew. And we have this aspect of fighting, literally, fighting for others. We have with all of our leaders. We have Moshe Rabbeinu. With all Moshe Rabbeinu does, he beat an Egyptian to death who was attacking a Jewish person. And when we think of Jewish people. I don't know that we think so much of being warriors, but I will tell you that the same way so many of these things, because of being a long time in Golis, are alien to us. People are like, Turmas and Mises, how does that even work? I don't know. Turmas and Mises, I don't know. It's scary, it's scary. Shemitah, I don't know. How do you work Shemitah? I don't know. Right? Been in Golis so long, you forgot about these things. But Shemitah, Trumot, and Maserot are part of Judaism. That's how it works, right? We've just been separated, we forgot. I'm telling you, being a soldier and being a warrior, that's part of Judaism. The same way Rav Ron said before, the chesed, people connect to different things. So say, oh, I'm a Gemara guy, I'm a chesed guy. Being a warrior, that's part of it as well. And I'll tell you so, I was in the army many years ago when I was in the army. I had a roommate one time, this guy Moshe. This guy Moshe was huge. I don't even know if there's anybody in this yeshiva who was as huge as him. In my mind, he was like Shaquille O'Neal huge. Maybe because he was also my roommate. He took up a lot of room. And this guy was not only tall, he was big, and he had like a massive hot belly, also like a giant belly. Anyway, he used to be in Golani, then he got injured in a certain kind of an incident, and then he was shifted to my unit, which was a shooting instructor. That was my job, and that became his job too. Now this guy Moshe was from Venezuela, okay? He had no family in Israel, and the guy was not from at all. Not only was he not from, the guy was like a savage, like a giant bear. He would eat like a bear, like that. He would sleep like a hibernator. You know, he'd go into bed and he would snore really loud. It was impossible to wake this guy up. I was like, it was this roommate. I said, Moshe, you gotta wake up. It was like really like waking up a bear in the morning. And everything about him, he's like really just like a barbarian. And I said to him one time, Moshe, what even made you come to Israel? Why'd you do that? You moved from Venezuela to here, and you always talk about how great it was in Venezuela, and all the Venezuelan girls, the Venezuelan food, everything Venezuela. Like, I don't know, Venezuela sounds like a horrible place to me, but whatever. So he says, I'll tell you why I moved to Israel. He says, one day, I was at Venezuela, watching the news, and on the news they say, things are heating up in the Middle East, there's going to be a war in Israel. It's like, it's going to be a war, I'm in. And he moved. This guy, I'm telling you, he has no connection. No connection. His only connection was this, being a soldier. And I'm telling you that among all the other things on the spectrum, doing chesed, and all, learning Gemara, and all of these kinds of things that everybody does, this is another aspect that's on the spectrum. Mamish, some people it's a big connection that they have. Some people it's less of a connection, but this is an aspect, and this is the day to stress that aspect. But more than that, there's another aspect, and that's the aspect of sacrifice. Now there's a Musar Sefer called Pele Yoetz by Rav Eliezer Papa. I don't know if it's so popular today. It's an 1800s Musar Sefer written alphabetically. When I was a kid, there was one of the shtibluch that I would daven in. The rabbi would teach this between Mincha and Mari. And under the category of Hatzalah, he writes as follows. He says, Hatzalah rescue. He says, L'mitzvah rabba yichashev l'matzil guf Yisrael. It's a big mitzvah to save the physical body of another Jew. He says, Ki'ilu kiyam kol Torah kula. He says, this is like fulfilling the whole Torah, and he gives the famous quote, Makayim nefesh echad miYisrael, you save one person, kiyam olam maleh, you save the whole world. And he says, this is the explanation of the Gemara. There's a famous Gemara says, Afilu rekanin shebi-Yisrael mle'im mitzvot kerimon. Even the empty Jewish people are filled with mitzvahs like a rimon. And the question that everybody asks on this is, well, if they're filled with mitzvahs like a rimon, like a pomegranate, how are you calling them empty? So how could you say the empty people are filled with mitzvahs? Well, if they're filled with mitzvahs, they're not empty. He says, Yesh rabim Yisrael shenirim lifnim. Some people, you look at them externally, they look like kelim reikim, like an empty vessel. Aval yesh beyadam mitzvah zo shel hatzalat Yisrael. But they have that mitzvah of rescuing, saving Jewish people. Bezehem machriim ve'ovrim et hachachamim. And in this way, they surpass hachachamim ve'hagdolim shebi Yisrael. Someone who does this, the mitzvah of Hatzalat Yisrael, doesn't matter if you have no other mitzvahs, you are considered filled with mitzvahs like a rimon. This is literally what soldiers do. That's exactly what they do, and that's exactly their job. And I will tell you something. You know, what's the slogan of the American Army? What does the American Army say? They say, be all you can be in the Army. Yeah, that's what they would say. When I was a kid, that was their slogan. Be all you can be. So what are they telling you? Why should you come to the Army in America? Why should you come? Because you can be all you can be. Yeah, we're going to help. You're going to be awesome, right? We're going to build you up in the Army. What's the other slogan? What do they say? See the world. Yeah? Oh, you want to see the world? Okay, you want to enjoy? We'll help you do that, right? What's it all about? It's all about you. That's how it works, yeah? And even sometimes when I hear American boys that they say they want to join the Army in Israel, why? They say, oh, I think the Army will really build me up. Yes? It will give me a lot of discipline. It will set me straight. I'm all mixed up. The Army will help me out, yeah? It's all about me. That's how it works. But in Israel, it's the exact opposite. When someone goes to the Army, what are they thinking? Ma ani yachol litrom. What is it that I can give? What is it that I can do for other people? I will tell you that the Army in Israel is basically a gigantic and institutionalized super chesed organization. It is literally people doing things for other people. They are literally saving other people's lives. It's not like in a theoretical way. Oh yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I helped this person. You know, I got him off of drugs. I saved his life. Yes. Oh, I got him to do this. I got him into a good yeshiva. I saved his life. They're literally saving your life in a gigantic institutional way. And what's their thinking? Their thinking is, how am I going to do my job better to help other people? And it is this concept of sacrifice. I don't even know if there's anything like this outside of Israel. This is a gigantic, and I would say the central aspect of Yom HaZikaron, to recognize that and to respect that and to see that this also should be a central aspect of human beings. I'll tell you one last story. There's a story about a guy. There's a guy that I knew in the army. In the Israeli army, there's also a couple of goyim here and there. Now this guy was an Arab. Now in the Israeli army, there are Arabs, they're called Druze. And Druze people, they're like the Apikosim of the Arab world. They have a whole different way of understanding things. The Arab says, you guys are Apikosim, you're going to hell. Okay, they're in the Israeli army. Now on this base, one base of mine was way up north. And on this base, there was this Arab guy called Nazid. And Nazid and I became pretty good friends because Nazid was from LA. And this guy, he spoke English. He was like an American guy who happened to be a Druze Arab. So Nazid, he had like this like cool haircut, and he spoke English with his Ray-Ban sunglasses. He was an American guy. And we would speak in English all together, and he'd tell me about growing up in LA, and he went to that high school, you know, at Beverly Hills. He was in that high school and everything. Okay. And then one time, he says, I'm gonna go. So one time Nazid says, I'm gonna go. He says, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna have lunch with my brother today. And I said, Nazid, who's your brother? What, you have a brother on the base? I mean, you're American, you're this LA guy. Who's your brother? He says, my brother is this guy, Naif. Naif on the base is my brother. I'm like, Naif is your brother? Naif, that guy was like a real Arab. You know, he didn't speak English, and he like walked around like an Arab. He was like an Arab. I'm like, Nazid, how is it that you're this like LA cool guy, and your brother Naif is like this like Arab from the village? He says, oh yeah, we're brothers, but we didn't grow up together. He says, what happened was that my father has a brother in LA. And this brother got married and didn't have kids for a long time. So my father said to his brother, you know what, I have a whole bunch of kids. I have like a bunch of kids, I don't need so many kids. So he says, I have a baby now, you know, you take him. Okay, and he says, that was me. I was a baby, they sent me to LA, and I grew up with this guy He was like my father, but he was really my uncle. Okay, and that's how I grew up. He says, and I didn't even know my family. They're living here like Arabs, and I'm there like an LA guy. So I said, Nazi, you're growing up in LA like this. Why'd you come here to join the army? So you know what he says to me? He says, how could my brother Naif be in the army and I'm not in the army? He says, that doesn't make any sense. So I said, I gotta join the army. If Naif is in the army, I'm gonna be in the army. So let me tell you something. You understand what happened here? This is a guy that has nothing really to do with Israel, lives in LA. He has a brother that he never met. What didn't make sense in his head? How could my brother be out there doing this and I'm not? And I'm telling you, this is a giant musser. You have to look at all of these soldiers out there. Who are they protecting? They are protecting all of you and everybody here in Israel. How are they thinking about everybody here in Israel? The way Avraham thought about Lot, and the way Moshe Rabbeinu thought about the Jewish guy getting beaten up over there. They're a brother, and I have to take care of these people, and how could I not take care of my brother? I'll tell you, this is the message of Yom HaZikaron, to remember how deep is this feeling of brotherhood. Achenu kol Beit Yisrael, that their people sacrifice their lives for their brothers. And even though you're not in a situation that you're doing it, you could at least understand. You could at least understand that this is a ma'alah, this is a level, and this is an aspect that's at the core of a person's Jewish identity, is to have that much connection and that much feeling to other Jewish people who you have not met and have nothing to do with you and have grown up in a completely different environment, but you feel so connected that you feel that they are your brother and you will do literally anything for them. My friends, I feel that that is the message of Yom HaZikaron for you, even if you're not connected to the army, but still you are connected to Am Yisrael and connected to the Jewish people. Thank you.